Greetings and welcome to everyone joining this webinar. I'm Avestroza, your host, and thank you all for being participating in this webinar. And I hope you are all doing well. So today's topic is Introduction to Pedagogical Linguistics, and we have the speaker Tuba, who will be shortly coming on the screen as well. So before we start off with the webinar and the presentation, first, I will be telling the process of this webinar for those who are new here. So, first of all, we will have a presentation from Mem Tuba, and after it's done, we will have a Q&A session. In Q&A session, there are two parts. In the first part, we will be taking some questions from registration form, which were already given to us before this webinar started. And then we will go for the live questions, which you guys have. You can comment them in live chat. And if you cannot see the live chat, then make sure you are watching this webinar through the youtube.com if you are watching from a browser. And if you are watching from your mobile, then make sure you open the YouTube app and then watch this webinar so you can see the live chat. And still, if you cannot see the live chat, then make sure you are logged into your Google account. Then you will be able to see the live chat. Okay, so after this Q&A session, I will be telling you how you will get your certificate. So stay connected and stay tuned and watch till the end to earn your certificate. And I hope you learn a lot. So without further ado, let's welcome Miss Tuba. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, thank you. And you?
I'm also good. So now you can start off with introducing yourself to the audience who are here present live, and then we can begin with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mammon,
You are
for
welcome.
this warm welcome and also for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge and having this presentation. And I would like to welcome all the attendants, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Okay. So the topic of my presentation is, as Mr. Mammon mentioned, is an introduction to pedagogical linguistics. So I will briefly be talking about what pedagogy is and the aim of pedagogy and the types of pedagogical approaches and the stages of first language development. And I will also be briefly talking about the second language acquisition, which is different from the first language development. And I will again briefly be talking about what linguistics is and the aim of linguistics. And of course, I will be going through what the pedagogical linguistics is and the relationship between pedagogy and linguistics and why pedagogical linguistics. And of course, I will be sharing my references with you. Okay, let us start what the pedagogy is. Pedagogy is the art and science of how something is taught and how students learn it. And pedagogy includes how the learning, how the teaching occurs, and the approach to teaching and learning, and the way the content is delivered and what the students learn as a result of this process. So we can briefly say pedagogy is the art, science, or profession of teaching, and the method of teaching in which teachers teach both is theory and in practice. The word pedagogy is derived from the Greek word pedagogo, in which is a pais and genitive means, and the Paidos means the child, and ago means to lead. So the word literally means to lead the child, to guide a child. So a pedagogue is a guardian, a leader of a child. So the term was used as a slave who led boys to school and back, and also taught them manners and tutored them after school. That was original use in this way, in this meaning. So, what is the aim of pedagogy? Why it's an important concept in terms of education? It is to build on previous learning of students and work on the development of skills and attitudes of learners. And it also aims to develop the skills and knowledge students need to succeed, both at work, at school life, and daily life, and as a citizen. It also aims to develop motivation among students in terms of learning, and it also aims to increase the participation of students, way of developing the curriculum and instructional strategies. So a student, a student is uh, provided much more uh, efficiency by a teacher who is involved in pedagogy. And the other aims are imparting adequate knowledge in terms of subject matter, which is being taught, and also equipping the prospective teachers with the essential pedagogical skills. It also allows the instructors and students to develop the innovative way of developing the curriculum and instructional strategies. So, when a teacher is involved in pedagogy and has pedagogical skills, she or he can contribute to the curriculum, and also he or she can develop some strategies, methods, and techniques depending on this pedagogical information. It also aims to enable the teachers to acquire an understanding of needs and requirements of students. This is very crucial. So, in order to understand the needs of students and the requirements of students, a teacher is supposed to have pedagogical knowledge, and also enabling the teachers to acquire and the developing positive attitude towards teaching, and making proper use of instructional facilities, and enabling the instructors and students to form pleasant and cordial terms and relations with others. And also, as Radhika Kapoor stated, leading to effective growth and development of students. So we can summarize the aims of pedagogy with these um, points. And this is a mind map, and I'm also a mind mapper, a mind map instructor, and I've been researching on also neurolinguistics and neurobiology of learning, and also speed reading and memory techniques instructor, as well as mind mapping instructor. So I wanted to introduce you with a mind map, which also helps a lot in teaching to students, no matter what age they are. So these are types of pedagogical approaches. I summarized them in 5 numbers. Uh, the first one is the constructivist approach. What is the constructivist approach? It means that the students are allowed to be active during in the process of understanding and gaining knowledge. And we have another approach, it's called collaborative approach, which means that the students form groups of learners that learn together, and they work together to solve a problem, to solve an issue. And they also are supposed to build strategies and create new ideas and products. And also, they are supposed to complete a task by this collaborative working. And we have also an integrative approach, in which the students are given a learning environment that helps them correcting with their learning across the syllabus. So the integrated approaches here between the other elements, the other components, and the other subjects within the syllabus. Also, we have the reflective one. The students are expected to observe the activities of the teachers and other students in the classroom and analyze why they do it and how it works. So they're kind of acting reflective, and they have the opportunity to analyze and observe each other. And we have the inquiry-based learning, which means the educators are required to not just answer the inquiries of the students, but also build a culture where their ideas are explored, challenged, and improved and refined. And as we come into the learning, I would like to talk a little about the stages of first language development. And here is a chart uh, of showing what ages a baby and a human learns his or her first language. So, as you can see, between first 2 months of um, the baby just reflects himself or herself through crying, expressing hunger or discomfort, and between 2 and 4 months, the baby has the cooing sound like ow, oh, and expressing satisfaction or maybe pleasure. And between 4 and 9 months, the baby starts babbling and gurgling and changing to eclectic babbling like ma 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 ga 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 da da da, things like that. And between 9 and 18 months, the baby starts to have one word utterances like juice, mama, papa, doggy, the things like that. And between 18 months and 2.5 years, the baby starts to have two-word utterances and begins the syntax, like building very small sentences, expanding to 3 words, 2 or 3 words, and uh, he or she starts to have communicative functions and starts commenting, requesting, questioning, and negating, like "Mama come and Daddy go," "Juicy fall down," and more juice, things like that. And between 2.5 years and up to 4 years, the baby has a period. Actually, we don't call him or her a baby, but a child, and uh, he or she starts a telegraphic stage and expands his or her vocabulary knowledge and expands the syntax, and he or she omits some grammatical markers and function words and starts to make sentences like I drinked milk, I eat it bread, the sentences like this. And it goes like that. But the very first years are very important in terms of language development. And how a child learns a second language is different from the first language development. So this field studies languages that a learner learns after acquiring the mother language, including third and fourth languages. And this image shows stages of six stages of second language acquisition, and the approaches and methods used in teaching a second language involves traditional cognitive theories of second language acquisition and more recently by socio-cultural perspectives on language teaching and learning according to Wright. So we have the silent period. We call it a silent period in pre-production stage. So this period often lasts like 6 weeks or longer, depending on the learner. And the student texts in the new language but does not speak that new language. This is the silent period. So a teacher candidate, or a linguist should be familiar with this stages. This is very important, so that he or she can understand why the learner keeps silent, because this is the very first stage of learning a new language, not mother language, but a second or third or fourth language. And the second stage is called early production. And the learner begins to speak using short words or sentences, and still keeps on listening. The emphasis is also on listening, not speaking, not reading, not writing, but listening, and still keeps on absorbing um, and observing and absorbing the new language. So this is very, very casual. It's very normal that a learner makes many errors, and in this early production stage. And the next stage is called speech emergent. And the speech of the learner becomes more frequent, and the words and sentences become longer. And the learner still relies heavily on context clues and familiar topics, so that he or she can feel much more comfortable using the new language. And vocabulary continues to increase and errors begin to decrease, and uh, it starts to become automatical with repeated interactions. And the next stage is called beginning fluency, and it is fairly fluent in social situations, and the errors become even less. A new context and academic knowledge are challenging still for the learner in the stage, and the individual will struggle to express themselves due to the gaps in vocabulary and appropriate phrases. So he or she still needs some time to use the appropriate language. And the very next stage is called intermediate fluency. And in this stage, the learner becomes even more fluent, especially in social language situations. And the learner is able to speak almost fluently in new situations and in academic areas, but there will be gaps in vocabulary knowledge and some unknown expressions. And still, he or she makes a few errors, yet he or she is able to demonstrate higher order thinking skills in second language, such as offering an opinion or analyzing a problem. And the last stage is called advanced fluency. In this stage, uh, a learner can successfully maneuver in new context, and when exposed to new academic information, he or she can communicate fluently almost in all contexts. And at a stage, the learner may still have an accent and use idiomatic expressions incorrectly at times, but the individual is essentially fluent and comfortable communicating in the second language. And what is linguistics? So, as this presentation is on linguistics and on pedagogical linguistics, we should also, of course, briefly mention what linguistics is, so that we can understand what pedagogical linguistics. So we can briefly say that linguistics is a scientific study of language. And linguists, which are experts in linguistics, work on specific languages, but their primary goal is to understand the nature of language in general by asking questions such as, of course, the questions are not limited to these questions. We have so many questions which can be asked by linguists and the candidate of linguists and the students and the English teachers. And the main sentences can be like, what distinguishes human language from other animal communication systems? That's a basic question for a linguist to ask. And what features are common to all human languages? And how are the modes of linguistic communication For example, writing, sign language, and speech, things like that related to each other. What is the interrelation between the modes and components of linguistic communication? And how is language related to other types of human behavior? That's also a crucial question. And we can go like, we can ask many questions, and maybe our attendants can ask more questions and maybe contribute. And they might have lots of very good questions in their minds. And we can go like that. How the linguistic structures relate to the sound we utter, and how it is relate to the meaning that we express? That's a very interesting question, I think. And what are the causes of language change? And what is the structure of the sounds, and how are they articulated? The articulation is also an important part of linguistic studies. And how can foreign languages best be taught and learned? And this is very much an interesting point, which can and should attract English teachers, of course. And how can children master language as quickly as they do? And even though the number of the number of sentences in a language appears to be infinitely many. And what does this remarkable capacity tell us about the mind? Of course, the neurolinguistics is the neurobiology of learning is very important as learning happens in brain. And how can the language problems of people with speech abnormalities be analyzed and rectified? So you can add tens and even hundreds of questions to these questions, because there are so many subfields of linguistics, which I will be mentioning very soon. So there can be hundreds of much more questions which are related to the subfields of linguistics. So, with close connections to the humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences, linguistics enhances a various variety of different disciplines together. Uh, it can be related to anthropology and philosophy, sociology, psychology, and biology, and computer science, health sciences, pedagogy, education, and literature, of course. Actually, you can add even more fields, scientific fields. And the subfield of applied linguistics emphasizes the usage of linguistic principles in the schoolroom to assist college students enhance their capacity to speak of their local language or a second language. So, what's the aim of linguistics? In very short, we can say the main goal of linguistics is, like all other intellectual disciplines, is to increase our knowledge and understanding of the world, understanding of the human being, understanding of human brain, understanding of human learning. And it researches in the nature of language and attempts to establish a theory of language and describes languages in the light of theory established. So I can also say the main goal of linguistics, like all other intellectual disciplines, is to increase our knowledge and understanding of the words. I should emphasize once more. And it examines all of the forms of language in general and seeks a scientific understanding of the approaches in which it is prepared to fulfill the needs it serves and the functions it performs in human life. Okay, and here is another mind map I myself created on subfields of linguistics, and I think this might help to visualize and to revise the subfields of linguistics, especially our attendants who are linguistics students and or linguistics graduate or English teachers. And here are some of the subfields of linguistics. We can start with phonetics. So, what is phonetics? Okay, first, I should say that language is a phenomenon with many layers, and from the sounds that speakers produce to the meanings that those sounds express. The field of linguistics is comprised of several subfields, and most professional linguists become specialists in one or more of these subfields. And the major ones are phonetics. So, this is a study of speech sounds. And phoneticians study both the production of speech sounds by the human speech organs, which is articulatory phonetics, and the properties of the sounds themselves, that is called acoustic phonetics. And phoneticians are concerned with such questions as what are the sounds from among all those that humans could make that actually exist in the world's languages? And what specially defines different accents? And can speakers be identified by voice prints? And what are the properties of students that would apply in computerized speech synthesis? And phonology is the study of language sound systems. Phonologists are concerned with questions such as what sounds contrast in one language but not another, and answers to such questions explain why, for example, Spanish speakers have trouble with the difference between English sh and ch, or why English speakers have trouble with the different U sounds in French, like rue street or a rue wheel, things like that. And what sounds of a language can or cannot occur one after the other. For example, why can words begin in st in English but not in Spanish? And how the poets or writers or song lyrics intuitively know how to match the rhythm of speech to the abstract rhythmic pattern or poetic or musical matter, and questions like this. And morphology is the next. It's the study of word structure. And morphologists examine such questions as to what extent are ways of forming words productive or not. For example, why do English speakers say arrival and amusement, but not arrivement and amusal? That's also interesting, an interesting point. This kind of questions are interesting. And also, what determines when words change form? For example, why does English have to add er to adjectives when making comparisons, but Hebrew does not add any coolant? Or, you know, in many languages, the rules differ, and yes, the same family, the languages which derives from the same language family, mm, maybe like each other, but even they belong to the same language family, they may differ from each other in terms of rules, the grammatical rules. And how can humans program computers to recognize the roots of a word separated from its affixes? For example, how could a computer recognize walk, walks, walking, and walked as the same words? These are, of course, interesting questions. And the study of how linguistics units larger than the word are constructed. So, syntacticians address such questions as um, how can the number of sentences that speakers can create be infinitive in number, even though the number of words in any language is infinite? Sorry, not infinite, finite. What makes a sentence like visiting relatives can be boring, ambiguous? And why would English speakers judge a sentence like colorless green ideously, furiously to be grammatical, even though it's nonsensical? And how can languages express the same thoughts even though they construct their sentences in different ways? For example, why does English "I saw them there" mean the same thing as French you even though the order of elements in French is I them there have seen? And we have semantics next, the study of meaning. Semanticists answer such questions as how the speakers know what words mean. For example, how does one know where red stops and orange starts? And what is the basis of metaphors? For example, why is my car is a lemon or a good metaphor, but my car is a cabbage is not? What makes sentences like, I'm looking for a tall student, or the student I'm looking for must be tall, have more than one meaning. In a sentence like, I regret that he lied, how do we know that, in fact, he did lie? How many meanings can be found in a sentence like, three students read three books, and why do just those meanings exist? These are also very interesting questions. And in addition to these subfields, there are numbers of other subfields that cross-cut them. For example, historical linguistics, the study of how languages change over time, addressing such questions as why modern English is different from Old English and Middle English, or what it means to say that English and German are more closely related to each other than English and French, just like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Social linguistics is a study of how language is used in society. Addressing such questions are what makes some dialects more prestigious than others, where slang comes from, any, and why it arises, or what happens when two languages come together in bilingual communities. And psycholinguistics, we can also mention psycholinguistics, the study of how language is processed in the mind, and addressing such questions as how we can hear a string of language noises and make senses of them, how children can learn to speak and understand the language of their environment as quickly and effortlessly as they do, and how people with pathological language problems differ from people who have normal language. And we have also the neurolinguistics, which I also mentioned a couple of times before, the study of actual encoding of language in the brain, addressing such questions as what parts of the brain different aspects of language are stored in, how language is actually stored, what goes on physically in the brain when language is processed, or how the brain compensates when certain areas are damaged. And specifically, I find this subfield very much interesting. And computational linguistics, uh, which means learning and understanding a language, involves computing the properties of that language that are described in the phonology, syntax, and semantics. The challenge of describing this process connects linguistics with computational issues at a very fundamental level. How could syntactic structures be computed from spoken language? How are semantic relations recognized, and how could these computational skills be acquired? And um, okay, so far, any questions or any comments? As I cannot see the comments. Okay, and of course, if we are having a webinar on linguistics, we should definitely mention Noam Chomsky, uh, who is called the father of modern linguistics, and he is associated with having shaped the face of contemporary linguistics with his language acquisition and innateness theories. Um, and linguistic research in the 1950s aimed to understand the tools and means through which children acquire language. What he did was to propose a system of principles and parameters that suggested a child's innate understanding of syntax and semantics. And because before he started these principles and parameters, the behavioristic theory just influenced the linguistic um, platform. And he still influences the scene of theoretical linguistics with his revolutionary theories in transformational generative grammar. And he emphasizes the mental ability to create sentences with the use of unconscious language skills. He refers to universal grammar. And of course, he has many books and so many contributions, and he still has some live presentations about aspects of theory of syntax and linguistic theories. Of course, he is also involved in politics, but this is not our subject today. And we have a quotation by him, and he says, language is a process of free creation. Its laws and principles are fixed by the manner in which the principles of generation are used is free and infinitely varied. Even the interpretation and use of words involves a process of free creation. This gives a lot of, you know, gives a idea of his perspective of language. He also states that the ability to learn a language is innate and the human brain is biologically programmed for learning a language. And what he did was leading a paradigm shift in the history of linguistics by strictly opposing the stimulus response theory of language learning of behaviorism, which was very popular in the first half of the 20th century, and uplifting cognitive psychology, which is called the Chomskyan revolution, because his ideas and his assumptions were quite revolutionary. And Chomsky hypothesized that the language acquisition device was a system that determined the features of the child's native language, and this falls under the nativist theory of language. It states that humans are born with the innate ability to acquire language, which is totally opposite of this behaviorist theory, actually. And um, let me introduce you the term pedagogical linguistics. So, what is pedagogical linguistics? This is designed for language teaching purposes. So, I think an English teacher should absolutely be involved in pedagogical linguistics and have some study on this. And it is also for syllabus designers and language teachers, as I said. And it is based on usefulness and ease of learning, exercises and descriptions, explanations, etc. And the contents and the priorities changes from one context to the next as different needs arise. And pedagogical linguistics also prescribes the teaching of most learnable parts of language, for example, grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and maybe some other language components. And it can be said that it's a two-way bridge between linguistics and education, carrying information not only from linguistics to education, but also in the other direction where linguistics needs to explore the impact of education on language. And here's a uh, great resource, a book by um, Trotsky and Rakin. It is called the Pedagogical Linguistics. And according to Trotsky and Rakin, the term isn't supposed to denote a brand new subfield of linguistics. Rather, it is the purpose of contact for any and all linguistic analysis, that is, education in orientation. And also, Dick Hudson points out in his contribution to the first issue, linguistics is essentially pedagogical. So, actually, linguistics is already pedagogical, and it continuously has been. Whether or not it's descriptive work and the properties of a language being exploited for developing teachers' materials or ideas regarding how language is learned, informing changes is teaching methodologies, and linguistics has always had an intimate relation with language pedagogy, and it might thus be useful to show the importance of education ideas and applications conjointly to the students of linguistics. And towards a pedagogical linguistics, this is from Hudson, Richard Hudson, towards the pedagogical linguistics. And why pedagogical linguistics? Here's another resource I would like to share with attendants so that they might would like to have more reading on this subject, especially the researchers or anyone who is interested in this topic. So, in his book, Educational Linguistics, Holt states that the individual educational linguist trained in any number of combinations of relevant areas of study, might have her or his home in a variety of different departments, including anthropology, applied linguistics, area studies, education, English, foreign languages, linguistics, psychology, and sociology. So, common to all educational linguists, though, is training is a critical thinking of a transdisciplinary nature. And some more information about pedagogical linguistics is it's more clearly focused on the nature and cognitive substructures of language in itself, and it can contribute language learning and teaching in terms of cognitive and construction grammar. So, um, grammar might be a challenging point for English teachers, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm a a very experienced teacher of more than 22 years. So I observed that many students might have difficulties learning grammar. And Trotsky and Rankin in Introduction to Linguistics also state that pedagogical linguistics is a point of convergence where all approaches to the nature of language and all approaches to the study of linguistics are welcome to formulate the potential pedagogical import of related research, and is fundamentally based on how language is learned and taught in pedagogical settings and what this means for both pedagogy and linguistic theory. And these are my references, and they can be used for further reading. And thank you for joining. And anyone who has questions or who would like to contact me, and I welcome all the questions and all the contacts. And these are my contact addresses. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. Mr. Mammon, my presentation is
Yes,
over.
ma'am, I'm here. Thank you very much for such a comprehensive and brilliant presentation. And I believe that all the audience we have here have learned a lot and are excited to ask the questions if they have any confusions. So now, as we are done with the presentation, I would like to invite all of the audience and participants. If you have any questions related to the topic for Ms. Tuba, you can all comment in the live chat. And but before that, I would like to include some of the questions from registration form. So you can write your questions, copy that, and you can comment when the live Q&A session starts. But first, we will have some questions from registration form. So just give me a minute. All right. So here we have. So the first question is from Muhammad Imran Bhatti. It's can we do quantitative research in pedagogical linguistics? So yes,
Okay.
ma'am. What's your take on it?
Yes, of course. We can, of course, do any kind of research, both qualitative and also quantitative research in pedagogical linguistics, as it's a main field of science. And any field involved in science can involve quantitative and also qualitative research. That is possible. Mohammed Imran, that is possible.
All right. So the next question is Farman Ashraf. What is the major difference between classical pedagogy and modern pedagogy?
Yes. Um, okay. So actually, the modern pedagogy also includes the 20th century's transformation and expansion. And for example, we call learners digital learners. The learners of this 20th century is much more different, and it includes also some computer sciences and also first century skills. So the modern pedagogy also includes these ones, which were absent in previous times when the pedagogy started. So modern pedagogy differs a little different. Involves this transformation and expansion of this modern times technology and comprehends of learners, language learners. So we can I can just summarize like this, and also I can say that the modern teaching methods also include some integrative and interactive and peer collaboration, task-based or activity-based approaches. That's also another distinction from classical and modern pedagogy.
All right, very well. So I hope Farman Ashraf is clear now with that question. And now another question is from Zishan Ali. He asked the difference between pedagogical grammar and pedagogical linguistics.
Okay. Uh, as a as a title is very obvious, uh, linguistics involve so many fields and parts of speech and reductions and dialects and things like that. But grammar is only grammar. So pedagogical linguistics is very much extended, and pedagogical grammar is purely focused on grammar. So this is the pedagogical linguistics is much more expanded, but pedagogical grammar is purely focused on the issues of grammatical stuff.
All right. So now the last question from registration forms. Of course, there were other questions, but those were kind of already answered during the session. So I haven't included those. So this is the last question from registration forms. It's from Mike. So as an expert in the practice of linguistics pedagogy, what advice can you give to language teachers to help them succeed in language teaching?
Uh, yeah, microfill columnist. That's a brilliant question. Thank you for all the questions, and thank you, microfill. This is a really brilliant question. If I were an attendant, I would definitely ask this question. Okay, and depending on this knowledge and depending on my experience, a language teacher should absolutely be very much aware of the stages of the different ages of the students, and how it differs, how the learning process differs from age to age, the age level, and also the cultural background and the psychological background of the students are very much important. And a teacher should also be aware of the neurolinguistic part, the neurobiology of learning. And also, a teacher should train himself or herself how the brain works, how the child brain works, how he or she can be engaged in learning. And um, you should definitely study the stages of second language acquisition. That's important, I think. And also, there must be uh, the stages of first language development is also important, and a teacher should connect these first language and second language acquisition, and also be very open to new techniques and methods. And also, a teacher should absolutely be aware of the 8 different types of intelligences. So each individual is different and has a unique brain, and they all have different learning techniques. So a teacher should be aware how all the students learn, and um, this is an innate. I agree very much with Noam Chomsky. This is an innate ability. This is an innate ability to learn a new language, is an ability. And for example, young learners learn through stories and songs a lot. Even adults like songs, and the learning becomes automatic. So a teacher should use different methods and techniques, not a simple one. So he or she should use some eclectic methods, different methods, and should be creating a multi-learning environment with students who have the different intelligent types. Um, these are uh, my advice that I can give to Mike Raphael. And thank you for asking this question once again.
All right. So thank you, ma'am, for answering these questions. And now we will move towards the questions from live chat. So now I would like to request all the viewers who are watching live. I could see that you were already giving your questions and comments, but like as the comments, new comments come in, so the questions goes up from the screen. So please now comment your questions, and then we will be trying to answer them. Okay.
Oh,
So now let's for the questions to come, and then we will
okay.
attempt to.
Okay. So, there are
Okay. So
many questions and also comments, and thank you for all these positive comments. Thank you, and I'm very glad that it's helpful. If it's helpful for you,
thank you.
and
So,
thank you for
ma'am,
your appreciation.
we have one question on the screen, if you can see. So, if pedagogical linguistics is about teaching linguistics, then what will be the difference between pedagogical linguistics, applied linguistics, and DSOL?
Yes, this is, in some books and my quotations, there is a difference between applied linguistics and pedagogical linguistics. Applied linguistics is not very much related to pedagogy, and not very much including the language learning part and language teaching part. Applied linguistics is much more involved in the detailed parts of linguistic studies. And so there are some good references, some reference books about what is the difference between applied linguistics um, and pedagogical linguistics. And it will be like 2 or 3 hours if I would involve all the applied linguistics and also pedagogical linguistics and prescriptive grammar and descriptive grammar, the differences. This is totally subject to another webinar. So if we have another webinar, I would happily present these differences between applied linguistics and pedagogical linguistics, and also maybe uh, uh, we can have another webinar on pedagogical grammar, uh, or this is something different, different from our topic. So this is a subject of another presentation, I think.
All right, it's fine. So now we will move towards another question, that is grammar integral in pedagogical linguistics?
Okay, let me check the question. Yeah, is grammar integral? Of course, actually, all the components of language is interrelated. So we cannot actually, of course, we should distinguish these subfields from each other so that we can just specialize and go into deeper. But actually, in the bigger picture, they're all related and integrated into each other, grammar and pedagogical linguistics, because grammar is a important part of language teaching and language learning. So definitely a teacher should also focus on the pedagogical grammar and have to teach it. For example, I would like to share my own experience. Probably we have many teachers also, maybe more experienced ones, or new teachers. I prefer teaching grammar in a natural way,
Mhm.
not in isolated form like subject or object, but I teach them holistically, and I mostly use some um, some popular, songs and some popular series, TV series, they're watching, they're following, and through them they naturally learn grammar. This is one of the techniques I follow.
All right. So I think the next question is very much related to what you just said. Is how do you feel about Chomskyan theory of annetism? Many people say it is outdated. If languages resemble each other, then language learning should follow one mainstream path.
Hmm.
So what's your take on
Um, well, actually, we cannot say all the languages resemble each other, because even if, as I mentioned, even if the languages in the same language family may not resemble each other very much. For example, French and uh, comparing French and English, we can say German and English might be resembling a little much more, but even the grammatical rules are different. And so we don't have the natural feminine and masculine forms of the nouns in English, but we have in German and some other languages. So we cannot just simply use a mainstream path to learn languages. But what I can say, what I agree with Chomsky is, if you might have been born in China, you might have been born in Indonesia, you might have been born in any of the countries, and there is not one single example of a child who could not learn his or her native language. So um, a human being can learn more than three, four, five, or more languages. I have some friends who can speak 8 languages or even more. So, uh, if this was not innate, one person could not learn another language except for his or her native language. So, this is innate for sure. But what we also be aware is that we need to develop we need to be aware of how human brain works through learning languages. What happens when a human being learns languages, what happens in the brain, and what are some techniques. For example, I'm also a memory techniques instructor, and there are some techniques like uh, mnemonics and some other techniques which helps a lot in learning language process. So we need to be aware how brain learns easily, and we cannot follow one simple way. But native language, I can say as a linguist and an English teacher that the native language influences the way the second language is learned. So if there is a connection, if they are resembled, uh, the second language can be learned a little more easily, or can be even negative transfer when learning the second language. But no matter how different the languages are, I mean, the mother language and the target languages are different from each other. Uh, the second language can be learned, and we cannot say there's one simple mainstream path. So we cannot explain human beings. Yes, they are born innately with the ability of learning a new language, and there must be one single way. No, as I said, um, each individual is different, and he or she may have the different intelligence types. So if he has the spatial, or if he has the linguistic, or he has the the music ability, then he will learn better with words, or he will learn better with some images, or he will learn better with some repetition. And um, so we cannot say there's one single way because there's not one single type of human learning. No, everyone is individual.
rightly said. So every person there would be a different method, or we can say different way of teaching and learning, of course. So there isn't one mainstream path. All right. So now the other question we have is how can we improve morphosyntactic knowledge of our students? I mean, through which pedagogy?
Yes, I can again say that especially the rhymes and the poems and rhymes, and especially the song for especially the young learners. That works quite much, and uh, teaching syntax, teaching sentences and the words isolatedly does not work according to my very personal point of view, because the child's mind does not work like that. That's why a child learns through stories, because there is an interconnection, there's a relation between the sentences, there's a main idea within a story or within a song,
Hmm.
within a video. So uh, especially the young learners, they have uh, they just imitate, and the more they are exposed to the language, for example through songs, through rhymes, and through some stories, they easily get the syntactic, the morphological structure of the new language.
All right, so like giving them exposure to the spoken language and to songs and musics, they can like learn
Yeah.
the structure subconsciously, we can say. All right.
Yes, that's right. And also, I would like to add that the pedagogical point of this, that a 8-year-old child or a 10 or a 15-year-old child learns differently. So, a
Mhm.
teacher should be very much aware of this uh, child's or teenager's age level, and uh, his or her needs and requirements of this particular age. So this is very crucial in terms of pedagogy.
All right. So you mean if a child is like younger, then he might be able to get these structures quickly, and if uh, the person is older in age, then he might the same thing might not work on him or her. Right.
Yes, we should pick different kind of songs and different kind of resources and different kind of methods and techniques. So even one age makes a difference.
Right. So here's a question: how can we introduce the language to young learners, as she is an elementary teacher, most particularly in reading? What you can recommend?
Hmm. Okay. Um, I've been teaching in elementary for about 9 years, so I'm very familiar with the teaching with 8, 9, and 10-year olds and 11 years. Reading is a skill that we prefer to have them in the later ages. Like definitely, we should expose the young learners with listening and speaking. And as I mentioned in my presentation, according to the stages of second language acquisition. So um, a student should be exposed and absorb the new language through listening and repeating and speaking. And after focusing on um, listening and speaking skills, then the reading skills should be um, introduced, because uh, an 8-year-old child is not already very much developed, even in his or her uh, native language. He or she is still under development, and with very short, but not very long, but very short, especially interesting stories that students are familiar with, because uh, as a student, a young learner should be familiar with the text, or with the resource, with the teaching resource, so that he or she can get connected. So a teacher should concentrate on what the students like, maybe a cartoon character, and maybe a story character, or maybe a real character, and things like that, so that students can be engaged on reading. So uh, the text should be related, the students' needs and interests. That's uh, what I uh, advise. And also, it can be turned into games, because at this early age, the young learners really enjoy playing games. And I recommend to Mary Apple Nevung to turn every skill teaching into kind of game. So uh, Mary can apply some games when it comes to reading. So the students will much more enjoy, and will be uh, willing to do some more reading if it becomes enjoyable with through games. Thank you.
Right. So, like, interesting story. If the students are like interested or like really like the character, then they will be like reading it more frequently and with interest. And otherwise, she has to prepare some games in which the reading is involved for her students. Right. So,
Okay.
all right, so now let's see if there are any more questions. And we are going to take three more questions and then we are going to end this webinar. All right, so, and let's see. Here we have a question, but I think you have already answered it. In morpho syntactical structure, like you advise some songs or music so they didn't catch, right? So we will move towards another question. Uh, all right. Okay. Yes, that's a very good question. What were your thoughts on teaching English as second language through GTM method?
Thank you for asking this question, Ambreen Hussein. My very personal idea is I do not use grammar translation method in the early stages. I don't use it with my young learners, not much, because I would like to let my students to learn in a natural environment, a learning environment, in that very language, because every language has its structures, its rules, and its perceptions. So if you try to translate everything you teach into the another language, into from mother language into the target language, you may lose things, and also the student's mind will not be able to work in the target language. So what the teacher needs to do is to let the student's mind to work in that very target language. So if a teacher always uses, especially in the young stages, uses a grammar translation method, especially when the academic requests are not needed, academic abilities are not needed, this might cause students not comprehend the target language, its rules. So I don't recommend it, but when it comes to the later stages, the learner gets older, and it involves other some other I'm distracted by some comments that why this is a natural way of speaking. I'm not presenting anything at the moment, so I need some time to think. And I would like to say I'm also working on some TESOL webinars, and all the native speakers in their very native languages, and also the second language learners. And I'm also a not native speaker, but a non-native English teacher. So it is very, very natural for I would like this comment maker to get involved in some TESOL learning, especially Arizona State's pronunciation, listening, and learning skills. That's absolutely great. So this things like that is a very natural way of a person to let himself or herself think about it
Yes,
and
of
to
course.
build some sentences. And I have some comments on this, very interesting comments, lots of positive comments, appreciating my effort to share my knowledge here. And I have prepared like 2 weeks, even more, to prepare this webinar and spending so much time and concentration. And I have a sick mom now, and that's very important for me to take care of her. And in this special time, I spent lots of time for preparation for this, and it's very natural for a teacher and for a student. And I recommend that teacher, probably she's a teacher, and to be much more empathetic and much more tolerant for another teacher, and for her or his students to be tolerant about these things. So it's very natural to say, to use reductions, and this is called paralinguistics. Also, this is a very interesting subject, the paralinguistics. So it is natural to say ah or oh. Okay,
Yes,
I,
definitely.
I, I, I
It's
just
so
I just couldn't stop doing this comment because I just saw this criticism. Thank
yes,
you.
it's fine. It's completely clear whatever you are saying, and very valuable and informative insights you have given to the topic. And also, there are other participants who are like saying in your favor. So it's all right, completely fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, so thank you. Now you can continue with the question. I'm really sorry that you had to see that comment. So sorry for
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. There are always people who appreciate, and there are always people who like, who tend to criticize. And I would also like to recommend, because I am very much experienced with young learners and teenagers and adults and English for specific reason, and all kinds of teaching I have done so far. So I'm pretty much experienced teacher, and I really would like my dear colleagues to focus on positive things, not negative ones. First, they need to learn how to appreciate their learners and focus on positive things. And of course, they can criticize in a nice way so that they won't distract their students learning more, and they can be loved by their students.
Right. So yes. So can we? Do you want to add something in the question? Do you want to add something more? You said you do not recommend, and we should learn in a more like open way and more based on the context, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that was the last question for us. Just give me a minute. Okay. So I'm back again. So all right. So now let's just remove this
Oh,
question.
thank you so much, Rexford Set Saver, and thank you so much for being here and joining me. That's why I'm here. That's why Mr. Memon started these webinars, just to share the knowledge and share the experience. and we are following the same path to help our students to be better teachers. And I'm very happy to be here with you, sharing all my experience. And I appreciate all the questions, including the negative ones, the comments. And
Yeah.
I thank you too. I truly thank you, everyone, each of you here.
Yes, ma'am.
And
And
somebody asked my email address. Of course, I have email addresses, and I also share my mind maps on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. And you can contact me. I will be glad if you contact me.
yes, ma'am.
Uh,
And I would also like to thank you uh, for sharing your valuable, informative, and very comprehensive presentation on this topic. And I also hope all of the people learn a great deal from it. And thank you very much for being a part of this linguistics and pedagogy webinars. And I hope you will also share and talk about some other topic on some other day. And also, if the audience want to connect with you, then I
yeah.
will be telling you about it, and then you can connect with them after the webinar as well. And thank you again for having this session with us. And I hope and I wish great health to you and also your family. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Granada, John, Matthew, Philip. Thank you, and Fun. Thank you, Mabon and Miriam and everyone. Yes, such great questions, and I'm very happy to share them with you. And I believe that as you attend such webinars, I'm sure that you are doing already great job teaching your students, trying to be better teachers. Thank you.
All right, man. So now I will be telling the students, not the students, but the participants, how they can receive their certificate, and then I will be contacting you after the webinar, like the live video ends. All right. So
Okay.
now have a great day, and if you want to say something, give a message or something in the end, if you want to.
Um, well, I just would like to thanks again and thank again all the attendants, and thank you for all the questions. And if students if, and linguist students and my colleagues, my dear colleagues, request any other webinars on such great topics they mentioned here, they asked such great questions, I will be gladly presenting another one here. So thank you for the opportunity once again.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, so attendants and participants, thank you very much for joining this session. I hope you have learned a lot. And now I will be telling you how you can receive your certificate. So first of all, if you are watching this webinar in your Gmail, like sometimes when you open the link in your laptop, it opens a little window inside the Gmail and you will be watching it. The problem with that is you won't be able to see the live chat in that window. So make sure you switch, you open another tab and watch this webinar directly on youtube.com, and that's how you will be able to see the live chat, which is necessary to fill the feedback form link. I will be talking about that later. So make sure you are on the youtube.com and then watching the webinar and you are signed into your Gmail account so you can see the live chat. And now, if you are watching from mobile device, then make sure you are watching in YouTube app and you are logged into your Gmail account so you can watch, you can see the live chat. Now, why I'm emphasizing on live chat is because I am now going to comment a link, feedback form link in the live chat. You have to click on it, and then you form will appear in front of you. You have to fill in your name and your all the other details for receiving the certificate, and it's very crucial and necessary that you fill in your correct name with correct spelling and capitalization and spacing, so that name can be copied easily from your form to the certificate. All right. And another thing about the certificate is that you will receive your certificate through your, like, we will be sending it on your email address which you provide. So make sure you give a valid and working Gmail email. All right, Gmail email address. So that's how you can get your certificate easily. And the time it takes to receive the certificate is from anywhere from 1 day to 7 days. All right. So after this webinar ends, you will be receiving your certificates anytime in the next 7 days. And we will also be posting on our linguistics and pedagogy webinars page on Facebook about when we have uploaded and sent it these certificates to you all. So you will know that when to check your email. So without further ado, I will be commenting the link here in the live chat. Okay, so here we have. Yes, so I have commented a link in the live chat, and it's called feedback form link, and you have to select it, not select it, but click on it, and then you will be redirected to a form, and then you have to fill that form in order to receive the certificate. And if you have any questions regarding it, you can text me, not text me, but you can comment in the live chat. I will be responding to you, to your problems. And then, okay, so now let me see. So we have got one response so far on the feedback form. Just make sure to fill that feedback form as soon as possible, because after the webinar ends, uh, it will be gone. So make sure you fill it, and if you do not fill it, you will not be receiving the certificate. So please fill it as soon as possible. I hope this live streaming will be still be able to be watched again. Yes, once the webinar ends, uh, this same live stream will be uploaded on the YouTube channel. All right, so you can watch it later if you want to. There is no any other YouTube recording link. All right. So this same video, when you open it after the webinar ends, you will be getting, you will be able to watch the webinar again. All right. So now we have got 51 responses on the feedback form. Please make sure you so please make sure you fill the form as soon as possible. If you have any questions related to it, you can ask me, and I will be here with you for a while. Okay, thank you for joining. Okay, clear. Thanks. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you, everyone. So, when is the next webinar? The next webinar isn't scheduled yet, but once it's scheduled, then we will be telling about it on our Facebook page. We will have a post about it, so then you can like register in it. And we also have a WhatsApp group. We have a Facebook group for related to linguistics and pedagogy webinars. You can find information about it on our Facebook page, linguistics and pedagogy webinars. And yes, of course, we have this YouTube platform as well. So we will be also scheduling videos here, so you can see which webinars are scheduled from YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Novia, for joining. Thank you, Spina. Thank you very much. All right, all signed, and I will be awaiting my certificate. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. It was great to have you all, and thank you for participating and engaging during the webinar. It really means a lot and makes the webinar more lively. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if you have any questions related to form, if you cannot see the link, if you cannot fill the form, then please tell me about it in live chat. Thank you very much, John. I hope you benefit a lot from these webinars. For those who are living in Philippines, stay safe to all of us because of ongoing super typhoon. I also wish you all safety and health during these times. Ma'am, you can email us at linguistics and pedagogy webinars at gmail.com. All right. After this comment, I will also show that on the screen, the email address for our organization, so you can contact us there. So let me just put it on the screen. So this is our email address. You can email there, and then we will try to arrange something. All right. So thank you very much. When can we expect to get our certificates? As I already told, within 7 days, you will be able to receive your certificate, and we also inform about it on our Facebook page. All right. Can't wait for the next webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You too. Thank you all of the participants for joining. It means a lot, and I hope you have all filled the feedback form. Sorry, yes. Now fill the feedback form, and yeah. Now I have also put it on the screen, so you will know that the link is in the comments. And for those who are confused how the link looks like, so you can also take a screenshot of it, and you can write it on your browser, and then you can open the form if it's not accessible from here. All right. And thank you very much for joining. You too. Keep safe. Thank you so much. You are welcome. All right. Many thanks. Successful webinar. We hope to see you in another webinar. Thank you very much, Tihan. Stay blessed. You as well. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next webinars as well. All right. Thank you very much. Nice presentation. Thank you. Already sent my response. Thank you very much. If you have sent your response, you can now leave this video if you want to, and you will be receiving your certificate within a week. Thank you very much, Ramya. Thank you very much. All right, so I have given the feedback form link again, the comments. Okay, many thanks. This was really good. Thank you very much for being such good participants and joining the session. So we have 130 responses so far. So if any one of you who has not filled the feedback form, please fill it as soon as possible. Otherwise, the link will be closed. And if you are watching this webinar late due to some reason, then you can also go to the form and fill it. It will be open for 24 hours, but not after that. And if you have some trouble finding the link in comments, or if you cannot see it, then you can email us at linguistics and pedagogy webinars at gmail.com, and then we will send you a link over there. Done filling the form. Thank you very much. Lian, thank you, sir. Hope to see you again in the next one. Thank you very much. Hope to see you too. Thank you very much. It's clear and informative presentation. Thank you very much. All right, many thanks to the webinar. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks for the speaker. Thanks for the resource and host. Thank you very much to you and to all the participants. All right, so now I will be here with you for another 10 minutes or might be 5 depending on how much people are still watching this video. So if you have any questions, if you want to talk about something, if you want to ask something, if you want to advise or suggest something, you can do so. You can do it and live chat. You can tell me. I will be reading it and answering to your queries, questions, advice, suggestions. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for joining. Right. So now, whoever hasn't filled the feedback form yet, I would like to tell him or her about it, that we have a few questions in the feedback form. First, your email, then your full name, gender, age, country. Then there is a section of compliments for the resource person. She was Miss Tuba, so you can write your compliments for her. We will be sending the same to her. All right, so she will be reading it. And then there is feedback for the host me, host I, Avis. So you can also give some kind of feedback or positive criticism or something else, and I will be reading it. All right. Is there any form to fill regarding the certificate? Yes, there is. As I already mentioned, its link is in the live chat where you have just commented this. It's available in there. It's called feedback form link, and it's actually a form you have to fill it in order to receive the certificate. If you do not fill it, you won't be getting any certificate. All right. So it's very crucial for you to fill the feedback form to receive the certificate. All right. So thank you so much. Still 48 participants are there. If you want to ask any question, query, or if you want to suggest anything, you can. Thank you very much for joining. All right, so we have got 146 responses so far, and I have 8 more minutes with you all. So, yes, let's just wait for you all to fill the feedback form. Where is the form? Uh, For you, let me just show you on the screen as well. This is the feedback form link here. You can take a screenshot, then write this all in your browser, and then you can find the form. Otherwise, if you can see this in live chat, you can click on this link and then it will redirect you to feedback form. Feedback form, and it's barely necessary to fill it because otherwise, you won't be able to receive the certificate of participation. All right. So I hope it's clear. Thank you, Novi, for joining. Thank you, Wakare. Thank you too. Thanks to you too. All right. So I have commented the feedback form. It's down in the live chat, and we have got 151 responses so far. Thank you so much, Joshua Lopez, for joining. God bless you too. All right. So still 45 participants are watching. If you have any questions, any suggestion, any advice, query, you can ask in the live chat. And also make sure you fill out the feedback form. Otherwise, if you do not fill the feedback form, you will not be able to receive the certificate. I'm looking to join the next webinar. All right, Abu Bakr. The next webinar, when it will be scheduled, we will be posting about it on our Facebook page, and also we will be scheduling the video on our YouTube channel, so you can also see what's next webinars are coming in. All right, so Thank you all, and still for 5 more minutes I will be here with you all. And I would like to thank you all again for joining this session, for being a part of it, and engaging during the webinar and asking questions and giving your feedback and your views on the topics. Do I need to fill the form now or later? Regard you can fill it. Sorry. Yes, you can fill it during these 24 hours. Like once the webinar ends, it's right now 7:35 something in Pakistan. So what's time there is in your country or your place of living? After 24 hours of it, this link of feedback form will be closed, and you will be no longer able to fill the feedback form link, and you will not receive the certificate. All right, so it's better if you fill the feedback form now, and if you cannot do it now, then make sure you do it within 24 hours. All right, so I will again show the link for you on the screen. Here's the link, https, then it continues. You have to write this in your browser, then a form will appear in front of you. Fill it, submit it, and within 7 days you will receive the certificate. Goodbye, ma'am. Thanks to you too. Thank you for joining. Okay, I'm Jordan. All right, you can fill the form anytime during these 24 hours. Next 24 hours, you have to fill it. All right. I hope it's clear. So almost 3 to 4 minutes more, and we have 154 responses. So please fill out the feedback form as soon as possible. If you have any question, any problem, you can comment here. I will be here for next 4 minutes, and I will answer your questions. Your suggestions are also welcome. So you can also suggest if there is something. And yes, if you cannot see the live chat, you can email us at linguistics and pedagogy webinars at gmail.com. And over there, we will send you the feedback form link, and you can fill the feedback form. All right. So 156 responses so far. Okay, so I hope everyone has filled the feedback form and there are no more questions. So thank you for joining and goodbye and take care and see you in the next webinar. Thank you very much. All right. So before going, what can be the benefit of the certificate? You can add this certificate to your CV, your resume, and it will show that just other than you are taking regular classes, you are involved in extra academic activities as well. You are increasing your knowledge, and you will have also a certificate for that to add in your CV. So it will help in this way, the certificate. But other than certificate, these webinars will help you to increase your knowledge and give you new ideas and thoughts and new ways of teaching and learning also. So that's the benefit of the certificate. Could you supply us the email of the instructor? I will ask her if she wants to share it publicly, and if she does not want it, then you can also text us on our WhatsApp number. It's given on our Facebook page, Linguistics and Pedagogy Webinars, or you can email us at linguistics and pedagogy webinars at gmail.com your question or your anything, and then you can write send this to Tuba Kisan Khan, and then we will convey your message to her. All right. So thank you very much all for joining. Goodbye. Take care.